Thanks for joining me tonight. The phone number here is 312-642-5600. Over the next hour now, I'm going to have two of the conservative state reps from downstate chime in on a number of the issues that I rattled off earlier tonight that happened in a span of 24 hours during veto session. And it's really important the people hear exactly what happened and how it happened, because process and policy, both of them, hand in hand, have created literally the worst run state in the union, and that'd be the state of Illinois. And instead of making things better, when he has complete power, Pritzker has made things far, far worse. Before we begin, though, I do want to recognize that Darren Bailey and his family had visitation today for his son, daughter-in-law, and two grandchildren that died, and tomorrow is the service. And all of us are extremely sad about that and give our deepest sympathy to the Bailey family at this time. Anyway, joining me now is Chris Miller and Brad Halbrook. Gentlemen, thank you for coming on my show tonight.
Jeanne,
thanks for having us, Jeanne.
All right, terrific. Now, I sent you this at the last minute because I really didn't see it. I had company in this weekend as well, as not feeling 100%. You kind of hear it in my voice. But I wanted your reaction to this. I don't know if you had heard this yet, but this is the viral clip, the clip that's going viral now about Governor Pritzker in front of the Illinois Federation of Teachers. We're going to take a quick listen, and then I want your response to it.
Let's talk about what we're up against in 2025. President Trump and his bootlickers have torn down the U.S. Department of Education from the inside. Instead of helping to improve math and reading scores like you all are doing and supporting our educators, they're making it harder for students to get ahead. Books are being banned. History is being erased. Republicans want to take billions away from public schools and pump it into private institutions. They want to punish teachers for telling the truth. They want to criminalize educators for supporting LGBTQ students. They want to turn classrooms into cultural war battlegrounds. And I'm sorry to be vulgar, but Donald Trump and his cronies can all the way off.
Well, you don't have to imagine what he said. I think everybody knows that he said Donald Trump and his cronies can basically F off. And he said a lot of incendiary things. This is probably not just the most incendiary, but also the most tacky, and it probably shows who he truly is and what he really thinks of myself. I'm a Trump supporter, Brad, Chris, and or like 51% of the entire United States. So, Chris, how about you first? I mean, what do you think of this?
Well, I think that J.B. Pritzker is just proving the point that he's not ready for prime time, and he's not even close to being ready to continue to be governor of this state, let alone president of the United States. He's totally gaslighting, and he's speaking to an extremely partisan crowd, and what he wants to do is get you to look at this shiny object that he's flashing up there to take your attention off the dumpster fire that he's created here in the state of Illinois. People are not safe. The quality of education is in shambles. Economic opportunity is out the door, energy independence, and he continues to double down on stupid, and he's obviously thinks that he's talking to an uninformed electorate that doesn't know what a disaster the Illinois education system has become.
Well, to that, Brad, I mean, the Illinois education system. Okay, so also this week, and I don't even know if it was discussed down in Springfield. Maybe you can let me know, because, I mean, they didn't probably want to talk about this. But this is from Chalkbeat. More Illinois students are proficient, new test scores show, but the cut scores changed. On the first standardized test results reported since Illinois changed the scores needed to be deemed proficient, 52% of students met the bar in English, and 38% did so in math. State officials unveiled the new cut scores in August after gathering input from teachers, school leaders, and advocates, But in releasing a trove of data known as the State Report Card, the Illinois State Board of Education did not provide data allowing the public to compare proficiency rates from previous years when the cut scores were different. They would have increased if we had kept the cut scores the same. However, we changed the cut scores, so we can't tell you what they would have been, but we know they would have improved, Sanders said. Oh, isn't that convenient? They changed the scores. They can't do any comparison to what it would have been had they kept the cut scores the same. All we can tell you is that they would have improved. I'm not buying it. I know you're not buying it. And, I mean, what does this say about again, you can comment on Pritzker's comment on this, tie it all together, because they're just hiding a whole hot mess.
Well, that's exactly right. And so why did they change the scores? We talked about this through the summer. You talked about it a lot. Many other experts have talked about it, is why did they change the scores? Well, they knew they were in trouble, and the smoke screen that they were running was running out of steam, and so they had to do that stuff. But to Pritzker's comments, I mean, this is more the same with him, right? He, in budget speech after budget speech, it's doom grifters, it's backseat bellyachers, it's carnival barkers, and even this budget speech back in February, everybody was Nazis. All the Republicans were Nazis. So, while he calls for the downplay, I guess, of the rhetoric and how the Trump administration is amping it up, and he continues to be the flamethrower with these things. So it's just really disingenuous. I think it just proves his level of status that he is. He's trying to play to his base and up his stock for his presidential run. It's really shameful.
No kidding. Did they talk about these cut scores at all? Was there any discussion on education down in Springfield this week?
Not in any of the rooms that I was a part of. Did we hear anything about that? It may have went on, but it wasn't in any of the rooms that I was a part of.
Okay, we're going to take a short break, and when we get back, we're going to discuss that illegal alien incident down in your neck of the woods, Coles County, Clark County, and what took place. We'll be right back. This is The Real Story with Jeanne Ives. Thanks for joining me tonight. I still have State Reps Brad Halbrook and Chris Miller on the line with me, and we're turning to a new topic. There's so much to cover tonight, and we're going to have them on all the way through to 8:30 because we do want to get through a lot of the veto session. Before we do that, another monumental thing that happened last weekend, and we sort of broke the news here on our show because I just received information that an illegal alien struck a vehicle, killing 2 Illinois citizens and injuring 2 passengers in that truck. They were eventually picked up for ICE. But you know what? Here's what Trump wants to say about what's happening with ICE and DHS in the state of Illinois. Take a listen.
Our Chicagoland neighborhoods are being bombarded with tear gas, invaded by unidentified masked men in unmarked vehicles, thugs who are intimidating workers and children and grandparents, most of whom are black or brown, most of whom have committed no offense at all. That is why I established the Illinois Accountability Commission to gather evidence, video, documents, testimony, to make a record of the abuses in the hopes that they will dissuade the abusers, give courts and decision makers reason to intervene, and spur peaceful response to the invasion we are experiencing. That is why I'm here again today, to continue shining a light on this for people across Illinois and across the nation. Donald Trump, Stephen Miller, and Kristi Noem have said they want to target the worst of the worst. They have not done that. Far from it. They have targeted families and children, burrito vendors, landscapers, delivery drivers, nannies, U.S. citizens, legal residents, and longtime Chicagoans, people who have never broken the law.
People who have never broken the law until they break the law, and they drive drunk and drugged up, and they hit Illinois citizens on the road, and they kill them. Oh, yeah, they're all just fine until that happens. Chris Miller, this happened in your district. Tell us what you know about the case and how it came to be. that these guys were eventually picked up by ICE, because we know that DHS somehow got notified. We know that. You don't have, but we know that also the police were not allowed to tell them that. So somehow they knew, though.
Well, I know, first of all, we want to extend our deepest condolences to the Mike Clayton and Gail Clayton families for this their unnecessary deaths. You know, it strikes home to me because they were 71 and 66, same age as my wife and I. And so when, Gail and Mike were getting ready to enjoy the golden years of their marriage and enjoying their senior years, and then because of J.B. Pritzker and Chris Welch and Joe Biden and the radical left's open border policies, these illegal aliens were in our state. They got drunk. They hit these folks head on, and the result was 2 deaths. And, my question is, how many people have to die in the state of Illinois at the hands of illegal aliens before our governor and the radical Democrat leadership are willing to have the conversation and do something about it? There's so many unanswered questions here as, where did they get the money for a car? Where did they get the money for gas? How long have they been living in the U.S. illegally? Where do they live or work? Where did they get their drugs that was found on them? And the list of unanswered questions goes on. And this story is becoming much too often here in our state. And yet J.B. Pritzker wants to sanctimoniously stand up and gaslight the citizens as he continues to put illegals over the safety and security of our Illinois residents, and it's just unacceptable.
This is tragic. Another teen was killed in Arizona, I think just a day ago, too, by an illegal driving drunk as well. Now, you guys passed, or you didn't, but the Democrats passed this new HB 1312. Apparently, it bans ICE from within 1,000 feet of courthouses, and it sets up enhanced penalties for ICE officers accused of abuse by protesters or arrestees for wearing a mask or anything else. This is part of his, accountability measures for ICE? What was the conversation? How did this bill come about? Tell me more about it, because I'm just actually appalled that they passed something like this.
Well,
Go ahead, Chris.
One of my biggest takeaway is how ignorant Chris Welch is, as well as Governor Pritzker and the radical Democrat Party. They don't understand the Constitution and our Bill of Rights, because if you aren't a citizen of the United States of America, you are not entitled to the protections that are provided through the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. And they got up and just railed on, how now think about this. They're railing about the illegals being here. And by the way, Chris Welch said there wasn't such thing as an illegal alien in our state, which is a complete joke. There are, I think, approximately estimates of about 550 illegals that crossed the border illegally. They became criminals when they came into our country illegally, and that status hasn't changed. And for him to stand up and sanctimoniously declare that, it's not, he can't declare all of a sudden that these people are citizens and entitled to all the benefits that come through our Constitution and Bill of Rights. It's just absurd.
Well, up here, the Tribune is regularly putting out article after article after article about this particular undocumented, or that's what they call them, undocumented person has been here for 20 years. They're just trying to get by. They keep bringing up that Maldonado guy who was captured, but at the same ICE picked him up. And then when his daughter was undergoing cancer treatment, now the judge released him, which is the right thing to do. Okay, we'll let you go through the compassionate care of your child who is a U.S. citizen. But after that's done, I think ICE intends to deport him. So Brad, what is the deal here? Are we just can you cross the border illegally now? And if you lived here, I don't care if it's 1 year, 5 years, 10, 20 years. They highlighted the story of somebody who'd been here for 20 years. ICE picked him up and his wife. They had 2 DACA kids and 2 U.S. citizen kids, left them behind. Are we just not pick them up? Are we supposed to just let them be here?
Yeah, well, if they're here illegally, they're here illegally. And it's just shameful that Chris Welch and the Democrat majority continue to double and triple down on their false narrative that, no citizens here illegally. I know one of our people on our side used the term illegal alien, which is a real term in federal statute. And Chris Welch wanted to go after him. I mean, he just literally went after him about using that legal term that these people about illegal aliens. They want to be in denial about the facts and really what is really going on. So it's a complicated situation, but the bottom line is the border's closed, as best as it can be. And thank you, the president, for doing that. We didn't need more laws. We just needed a new president. And so I think we're going down the right road finally. Immigration or illegal crossings without assimilation is an invasion. And that's what we've experienced for the last 4 years. These people do not want to assimilate. They want to come in. And I know some of them have left some hard times where they came from. But there's a lot of bad seeds in this bunch. And they're wreaking havoc, just like a situation over in Coles and Clark County a week and a half ago, or I guess just last weekend. That's a really bad situation. Those people were here illegally. That was a senseless situation, drunk, on the dope, whatever the case might be. And these situations need to be reeled in. I think about, a situation of citizens in our communities, that there's an accident and lives are lost at an intersection, and there's a tremendous amount of I guess I don't want to say outrage, but there's just hey, let's fix that intersection. Let's put some traffic control in there. And eventually IDOT responds and we get some traffic control in these dangerous intersections. Mm-hmm. But we don't see any of that going on where we have these illegal aliens that are causing severe harm and death to our citizens. It's just I guess it's a double standard, and they seem to not care.
Well, and they were driving uninsured and unlicensed. And then somebody's like, right. Oh, well, they were from Indiana. Doesn't matter. Do you really think that there aren't unlicensed, uninsured, illegal aliens that are in Illinois that just never went ahead? Even though they could get a standard driver's license, they just didn't do it, right?
Right.
That's right. Exactly. Okay. We've got to top of the hour break. And State Reps Brad Halbrook and Chris Miller are going to stay on the line because we're going to cover that massive $2 billion plus transit bill. What's in there, and SB 25, that massive energy bill, $8 billion in new taxes to ratepayers. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Thanks for joining me tonight. The phone number here, 312-642-5600. Hopefully we'll get to your calls here, but we've got a lot to cover with State Reps Brad Halbrook and Chris Miller. It was a disaster of a veto session. Why don't we start with Brad? Brad, just kind of explain to the audience a little bit about veto session and what's supposed to happen in veto session, and actually what type of work that you did do this week. And, was it organized? Was it thoughtful? Did you have regular committee hearings, or was everything just slammed through at the last minute?
Well, it was just chaos, as I guess the definition of chaos. Veto session is for that, right? For vetoes. However, when you have a governor that is the same party as the majority is, very little stuff gets vetoed. I think we did address one veto bill in the 6 days. And 2 weeks ago when we were in there, I think we were in session for about 5 hours, lots of points of personal privileges, introductions, those kind of things, a few resolutions, but no substantive action 2 weeks ago. We came back on Tuesday. Action picked up a little more floor activity, but we did a few more bills. But what was really getting to be the order of the day was in these big, heavy issues, the transportation or the Chicago transit, the different things that we had to grapple with, the energy stuff, whatever it was, they would post committees, they'd go in, and then all of a sudden there was yet another amendment drop. And then 12 or 24 hours, another amendment would drop. The energy bill alone, late in the May session, I think had 3 or 4 amendments before we left on the last of May. And I think it was 3 or 4 versions before we got there early this past week, and it continued to evolve. So it was just kind of more of the same, that they had these massive 1,000-page gut and replace amendments. That what was really interesting is a lot of times they were just having subject matter hearing. The language wasn't even final yet. It wasn't in really a bill form. It was just a subject matter hearing on the subject.
Mm-hmm. Well,
so that they could bring the real amendment to the floor.
Right. No, in August, when we actually were able to, through the help of State Senator Terry Bryant, get Steve Gorham to be able to testify in the Senate on that energy bill, I listened to the 3 hours of testimony. I know you listened to it. We did a whole distillation on it. And it appears that in the final passage of Senate Bill 25, they didn't take any of the experts' advice really into account.
And that's absolutely correct. So we've had 4 different hearings prior to veto session about energy. Nobody had a chance to weigh in. There was no ability to put witness slips in because it was just subject matter hearing only. There was no votes taken. And again, they just kind of had this narrative that they were trying to build out, that the only solution here is to bring on battery storage. We have to have more solar, wind, and we have to have battery storage. That must be the answer. Battery solves our problem because evidently we're not getting enough stuff done. And, oh, by the way, well, it's the regional grid operators, it's the MISOs, it's the not the ComEds, but the PJMs. They're the ones, that's the problem because they can't get all this stuff connected in time.
Well, I mean, this is all a complete joke. Which one of you guys want to tackle this? Like, we're told it's like $7 or $8 billion that this new energy bill is going to cost. What's in it, and why is it going to cost so much?
Well, the thing about HB 25 is a massive energy rate hike. When you're talking about $8 billion that it's going to cost the consumers, which is another tax. And the problem is this is going to devastate businesses. It's going to devastate families. It's going to devastate communities. And even, the worst part of this whole thing is it's done in the middle of the doggone night, at 2, 3 a.m. in the morning. And it's all based on a faulty narrative. It's all based on a scam. This is their green religion, and they bow down to the green gods. They aren't interested in the truth of the matter. They aren't interested in reality because reality affects their narrative, and they don't want it. All it is it's an initiative to just double down on this false narrative, and it's a fantasy, and the Illinois ratepayers are the ones that are going to be living the real nightmare, and it's becoming all too familiar as time goes by. It's just bad idea after bad idea that negatively impacts the consumer here in Illinois.
Well, it was also, did they include the power grab by the ICC? Are they, this unelected board, are they going to make all the power decisions in the future?
That's exactly right, Jeanne.
Yeah, go ahead, Brad.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Brad.
Yeah, thank you. So this bill will grant IPA and ICC, these are unelected bureaucrats that are gubernatorial appointments. It will give them all the authority to make power decisions from this point forward. Once this bill's signed, they have the authority to make all the power decisions in the state of Illinois. The expense of this bill comes from, I think all of the energy bills like CEJA has had 4% rate increases, if you will, built into them. I think so that they could use that to subsidize all of their green fantasies that they want to do. I think in the lame duck session, the skinny energy bill that was passed, I think they bumped that up maybe 0.25%. But this bill takes that 4.25% rate gives these bureaucrats at IPA and ICC the power to add on another 1.65%. And oh, by the way, if that isn't enough, they can just do away with that and do whatever they want. They can charge whatever they want to do whatever they want to pay off this $8 billion in battery storage that they're trying to implement. That's the scary part, is they've given these unelected bureaucrats all the power to make the decisions, and when need be, they can remove all the caps on any rate increases on the subsidies to pay for them.
Okay, so we know special interest was for this bill. Who adamantly opposed the bill? Was there anybody really standing up other than you all?
Yeah, there was one group. We talked to them. They're interesting statistics and things to say. And I think what was really interesting is they said that under situations like this, where they've centralized these power-making decisions to bureaucrats, this has happened in 9 states, and every one of those states, their electric rates are higher than all the rest of the nation. So Illinois now will become the 10th one to join that rank. So there was a little bit of pushback, but when it comes to the special interest, whether it's the unions, both private and public sector, whoever may be in that group, if you will, they were all in on this situation. You know, the solar and wind suppliers, the battery suppliers. And, you know, Jeannie, I guess our concerns is what's happening with Goshen, right? They came in to be an automobile manufacturer or battery manufacturer, and now evidently maybe there's a shift to these grid-scale batteries. So is this a payoff to Goshen?
Absolutely, it was 100%. So that you're subsidizing power on that side too, because you're subsidizing the manufacturing of the batteries, plus the deployment. Like all of it's a huge, massive subsidy. And it's going to fail. Chris, what do you think? It says that the IRP, which is this integrated resources planning, their goal is to have 40% renewable by 2030. They've had that goal forever. We are 4 years away from 2030. What are we at? 10% renewable, maybe on a good day when the sun's shining and the wind's blowing?
Yep, on a good day, I think that's true. The thing that the people need to realize is this isn't an energy bill; it's an environmental giveaway, and it gives power to unelected bureaucrats to raise energy rates in the future. I mean, it's without restraint. I mean, think about what they've done. They've already, for everybody that's got at least down here where we have Ameren, Illinois, we've seen a 40% rate hike. And there is no way that this could possibly be implemented without, maybe going up that much again, possibly. You're talking about $8 billion. And there's no federal government, or the state government has no state money unless they confiscate it from taxpayers. And this is, by the numbers that we have seen floated around, it's $8 billion, and that's the cost of families and businesses to pay these electric bills. I mean, it's just absurd that we have to deal with this insanity because of a fantasy.
Did they fully debate this on the House floor, or was it limited? It was a House floor amendment to begin with, so we know it didn't go through committee for a full vetting.
Right. There was a fair amount of debate. It was pretty much unlimited. I'm trying to think. I think this was a bill that they did put a 3-minute timer on late in the debate, but it was unlimited for a while until they see me stand up, I think, and then I hadn't even pushed my button to see they put a 3-minute timer on.
I think that when you punched your button is when it went to a 3-minute timer.
Yeah, they know Brad knows his stuff on this, and so does Chris. Yeah, well, Brad got a nice quote in the Trib, which shamefully was all for CEJA, the Clean Energy Jobs Act, in 2021. Then 3 years later said, well, actually, the naysayers on CEJA were right 3 years ago. We should have listened. And then they came in, and they're okay with the Clean and Reliable Grid Affordability Act. And in 3 years, they're going to write another editorial saying, oh, I guess we were wrong. Electrical bills haven't gone down. They've actually increased. I mean, the media is part of our problem here.
Absolutely.
Yep.
They continue to lie and gaslight the people, because even the other day when they were debating this, there was somebody that had the audacity to get up and say, I think they said, you can expect your electric bill to go down $160 a month. And I almost laughed out. I laughed out loud because I thought, tell me anything you want to, but don't tell me my rates are going to go down. I mean, come on. It's like if you like your plan, you can keep your plan.
You have to pass the bill to see what's in it, Chris.
Yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable.
It's insane.
Well,
These people are insane.
I think too, Jeannie, we have to raise your rates to make them cheaper. I mean, I think.
Yeah, that's right. That's what they said, though. I heard that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They did say that, didn't they? Well, initially they'll go up, but then they'll go down. They actually said that.
Right. And a lot of the material is saying that we're not going to see any rates go down until 2030, which is not this week. It's not next month. It's not next year. That's 5 years out. But they tell this story, and people are buying into it. It's just bizarre. But it's like, Representative Leader McLaughlin, it's like, hey, you guys are trying to help us out here. Quit helping us. Every time you try to help us, it costs more money.
Well, exactly. And then you know what? You showed me that post from Joe's Diner down in, I think, Arthur area.
Yeah.
And she's going to go out of business, right? And part of it is because she can't afford to even stay in business with all the help she's getting from Springfield.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and it's real a travesty because, we've seen this over and over. I know that Brad and I did a press conference at a local sandwich shop in Villa Grove here a couple of months ago. And think about how many more hamburgers you have to sell to make up for a $1,500 increase in your electric bill. There's no way.
No, there's not. Okay, we got to take a short break. We'll be right back to discuss that transit bill and assisted suicide passed. These guys are ghouls. Thanks for joining me on The Real Story. All right, I promised you a short break, and we had a short break because there's so much to cover with the state reps that are here telling us all the damage that they did in veto session. Again, you just can't make it up. In May, they passed the largest budget in state history, up $2 billion from the year before, and they add $1 billion in new taxes in that, and then they come back, like literally just months later, and they add, $10 billion more in taxes, $2 billion of that going to bail out Chicago Transit. Now, the funny thing is at the start of the veto session, I really appreciate Brad Halbrook and Chris Miller for keeping me informed about what's going down there so that I can keep the rest of you all informed. At the start of the veto session, it appeared that possibly the energy bill was stalled and that the only thing that they really needed to do was they needed to figure out what to do with Chicago Transit. And in fact, Republican Kirk Dillard, who is the head of the RTA, the Regional Transportation Association, agency that overlooks PACE and Metra and the CTA, which make up our transit system here in the suburbs and in Chicago. He penned an article in the Chicago Tribune. They pay, and he said, "Look, we're just looking for $200 million. That's what we need. Oh, by the way, this whole thing started out with." We need $771 million to fill the operational needs and infrastructure for Chicago Transit area. Okay, that's what it started out as. Well, then they surprisingly found $500 million. I don't know where. And we're come to you during veto session, and this is literally the day of veto session. It was either that Monday or that Tuesday. He gets this article in the Tribune, and it says, we only need $200 million. And then what passes? Is it really over $2 billion that they are funneling to transit? And is this temporary or is these permanent flows of money that's going up to Chicago Transit and on the backs of all taxpayers statewide? What is going on? Let's start with Brad on this one.
Yeah, so I see it as a $2 billion increase, $1 billion or a 60% increase in tolls on the tollway. And just to give you a little reference, my understanding is the tollway budget is right now $1.72 billion. Okay, this is another $1 billion. I think it's 43 cents or 45 cents per vehicle, passenger vehicle increase. And nobody could bring clarity. Is that every time you go through a toll booth, if you will, or that you get dinged? Is that 45 cents every time, or is it when you come on and then you leave the tollway? What does that really mean? Well, nobody could really explain that. Commercial vehicles are going to get a 30% increase in their tolls.
That's outrageous. Okay, go ahead.
Right, it is. It's like, what are they going to do with a 60% more money? When they only needed, you're right, like you said, $761 million, and now they're going home with $2 billion. The other money is $861 million that comes from the road fund. So every time we buy gasoline, all the taxes, the motor fuel tax, the sales tax, goes into this fund. It was doubled in 2019, and it's built this huge surplus. I think currently the road fund sits at a $3.3 billion surplus. And it's like, I don't know why it took them so long, why they were nickel and diming everybody over a $5 ticket surcharge or a 7% amusement tax or all these other things, the streaming tax, all this stuff that they were dreaming up. I mean, I would have thought that they were sitting there seeing this $3 billion sitting excess in the road fund, and they finally figured it out. And that may have been the plan all along. But they went for it, and they got it, and they deemed it part of their money. And it's just immoral what's been done here with this amount of money.
Chris.
And the other thing, I guess, to close the loop on that, and we'll kick it over to Chris. So there's also that $3 billion has earned $200 million in interest. They took that. So you take the 861 and the $200 million, that's over $1 billion that they're going to get for this thing. That money, 45% of that money was for Road District 1, which is Chicago and the surrounding area. The other 55%, or $450 million, was to be for all the other 8 or 9 road districts in the state of Illinois. So downstate motorists are paying to bail out the Chicago Transit Authority, the Regional Transportation Authority. It's shameful.
Disgusting. Okay. And then also, I'm just reading your notes here. These increases for commercial vehicles and motor vehicles on tolls, they are adjusted biannually by the CPI, capped at 4%.
Right. I mean, that's the other thing is they have put a built-in accelerator.
Well, they found out that works so well with the gas tax, so why don't we do that all the time? Why don't we just, everything's indexed for inflation so we don't have to do this over and over? But the truth is they're taking more and more money and they can't even spend it.
Right. And that's what, I did a video this fall about this increase, this road fund that's been built up, so it goes up every year. We don't have a committee hearing. We don't ever discuss. We don't debate. There's no witness slips. There's no experts to come in and say, hey, you're sitting on all this excess. Maybe you need to tone back. Maybe we need to not pass this increase in July, whatever it is. But now it's just automatic. It just automatically goes up.
Yeah, but it's adjusted biannually. That's twice a year. They didn't mean biannually, did they? Once every 2 years. No, biannually, twice a year.
Every other year. It is every other year. My understanding.
Oh, okay. It's every other year because it's written biannually. So that'd mean biannually. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's my understanding. That seems kind of strange that it's every other year. So, again, be cautious. What was said and what was tried to be explained may not be in reality what it is, right? I mean, we always have to be cautious about that.
But were there cost savings demanded? Was there anything about that? I mean, this is ridiculous.
Well, Chris, I think there's a new governance structure, but I don't think there was anything
that's garbage
built into it.
Well,
right.
One thing that we know just from watching behavior over time is that the Democrat solution to almost any problem they face is to tax more, borrow more, and spend more. It's never to really do a deep dive into what the problem is and how did this problem get created? And we all know it's because incompetence is the bottom line of all this fiscal insanity. But we know here ultimately it sweeps the sales tax on motor fuel away from the road fund, and it goes to a new. Imagine they created a new entity here. It's the new Northern Illinois Transit Authority. Okay, and so we have a new authority here because it used to be always, as you mentioned before, that the split out was 45-54, and under this new regime, the northern Illinois sector gets 85% and downstate gets 15%.
Oh,
and
man.
So, how could that possibly be fair? But I mean, it's just when you look at this stuff, you just can't make it up.
You can't. Okay, I have so much more to discuss with you. They passed that assisted suicide in the bill in the Senate. It had already passed in May. We don't have time. I literally have 20 seconds. So I just want to thank you for your time tonight. I really appreciate you. You're on for a long time, and we'll have you back on to discuss more of this. It's really important that people are informed about what's going on. I appreciate you, State Reps Brad Halbrook and Chris Miller.
Thank you, Jeannie.
You bet, and we'll be right back.
You.
We've got...